So rates are up, everybody knows that, and it can feel like the market is a little scary. And so what we want to do today, I've got Cynthia.Kramer here from Guaranteed Rate Affinity, going to be talking about interest rates, how that affects your mortgage, and then what you can do to possibly get a lower rate.
Perfect. Thanks, Braden, for having me today. So yes, interest rates are up. They're probably in the 7% range for most borrowers, and they kind of are what they are. Some of the issues are so many people have such lower rates on their current home, so they're not wanting to sell. So how can we get them into a lower rate on that purchase? A couple ways. First of all, buying down that interest rate and taking advantage of negotiating with the seller to pay that buy down. And that's going to give them more bang for their buck than if they're just offering a lower purchase price.
One of the things that I've been thinking about a lot lately is that the market feels scary, right? I'm talking to a lot of sellers, people who own houses, and if you've owned a house for at least a couple years, you've got a pretty low mortgage, right?
Absolutely.
You've got a pretty low interest rate, and so everybody feels stuck in regards to like, I can't sell because I've got a 3% interest.
Yeah.
Where would I go? How would I do that? And so the thing about fears is that when fears are not defined, they become really scary, right? Let's for instance, you have a kid and they have a fear of a monster under the bed. And what you do as a parent, like you could say there's no monster, like yes there is, but what you do is you actually get a flashlight and you peek under the bed, you look, there's no monster under the bed. And now they feel like, oh, okay, we did this. The same deal with rates. I think people are stuck at the 3% interest rate, or they have that in their head, and rates are now high, so I can't do anything, or I can't afford a house. But have they actually run the numbers? Have you actually run the numbers to know, like, what can you actually afford? Have you talked to a lender to figure out, okay, based on my income, based on this, yeah, sure, maybe I would have to sell my house, maybe I can keep it as a rental, but to be able to buy that next house, what does that look like? And so wanted to break down a few different numbers. Let's say a house in the $1 million range, a house in the $3 million range, and a house in the $5 million range. Just if you were to buy, buy a house and just put 20% down, like what might your mortgage look like with interest?
So for a $1 million house, 20% down, the payment's gonna run about $6,500, $6,600. A $3 million house, about $16,000, and $5 million, about $31,000.
And there could be that situation where rates are coming down in the future. So you're buying something now that, you could refi down the road. So again, if you are stuck in a house that you're not really happy with, and maybe families, something, you're having another kid, you need to move to a different school district, you'd have to move for work, like people have to move. So just gives you those numbers to be able to figure out what you can afford. So like, oh, maybe this is in our wheelhouse and we can do this. So let's do it. Let's say for a strategy, and I think this is a really good strategy for a seller, right? And also for a buyer to say, let's say you want a discount, a $50,000 discount off your house, and we're at a $3 million home. And so instead of just taking a $50 discount, can you talk through what does it look like to give a $50,000 rate buy down instead?
Absolutely. So let's say on a $3 million purchase price. So a lot of people just think that I'm going to go and lower a purchase price. That's going to save me a ton of money. So for example, if you offer $50,000 less on a $3 million place, you're going to save about $255 a month. Not too bad, right? But if you use that instead, asking for the seller to contribute towards lowering your interest rate, buying down your interest rate, still offering $3 million, but asking for a seller credit of $50,000, seller comes out exactly the same in their proceeds, but it's gonna be much more advantageous to you. You're gonna save about $1,100 a month.
Which is huge.
Which is huge.
A huge difference.
Yeah, that's about $67,000 over 5 years, which is fantastic. Like we were talking about, that's about a car payment. So who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, I mean, incredible. So that's a strategy. So if you are selling a house and people are wanting this, what if you, it's just houses are starting to sit a little bit longer, especially on the higher end, more expensive range. And so as an alternative to be able to break this down, and instead of or as a buyer trying to just take a $50,000 discount, this is a much, much more advantageous strategy for you. Plus you're locked in and now at a lower rate. Can you even say, what does that mean? Rate buy down?
Rate buys, the starting rate without the buy down.
No, just like, what is a rate buy down?
A rate buy down is paying up front to lower the interest rate. So you're kind of paying...
sort of paying interest in advance.
Exactly. So if you're able to get the seller to contribute toward that, it's a win-win. There's no money out of your pocket by lowering that interest rate. You just get the full advantage of it.
amazing. So hopefully that helps you just think through what a strategy for yourself and ways that you can save money, but also just defining like what you can afford, and it is possible. So you don't want to stay, if you're stuck in a house that like, this is not the house I want to be in forever, and you're just like, I can't move because the rates are so high, maybe there are alternatives, and we'd love to help you out. So please, if you have any questions, reach out. We've got Guaranteed Rate Affinity, would love to help you. But if you have any questions, please reach out. All my info is down below. We'd love to help serve you. And until then, we'll see you on the next one.